everyone, and welcome back to the Gathering Crows podcast. This is Nathara, as always, your hostess here, and I wanted to drop in and have a chat about our solstice that is happening tomorrow. In the Northern Hemisphere, this is the winter solstice, happening on December 21st. It's usually the 20th, 21st, or 22nd of every year. Just like we have the summer solstice in June on the 20th, 21st, or 22nd. It kind of depends year to year. And the reason why that happens is because the solstice is actually an astronomical event. So what we're looking at is when the sun appears to be the furthest north and the furthest south in its path over the Earth. So we have like the equator that goes around the center of the planet, and then we have the route that the sun takes from east to west every day. So in the southern hemisphere, it is summer solstice tomorrow, and the northern hemisphere is winter solstice. And at this point, in the northern hemisphere, the sun is on its northernmost pass over the planet, and so that is why it is winter and it is so very cold. But as of solstice, that path that the sun follows starts moving more south again, and so after the winter solstice, our days start getting longer again. I don't know about you guys, but the sun doesn't come up until 8 a.m. and then it goes down at like 4 o'clock or 4:30 is making me feel much more dislocated in time than I normally am, and I'm not good at time to begin with. I am so bad at keeping track of what time it is during the day. I have no sense if it's been like 5 minutes or 3 hours, that kind of stuff. But like the one thing that I really rely on is the movement of the sun. So I know that like when the sun starts going down, depending on where it is when I notice it, I have an hour until sunset, and then after that, it's like 4 hours till bedtime or whatever. And when the sun is up so little, like it is right now, I just feel lost in time. Like the sun just went down where I am right now in California, and it's like 5 o'clock in the evening. And I feel like I should probably go to bed in the next 3 or 4 hours, and that doesn't make any sense. So I also have the same issue in summer at summer solstice. So by the time both of these solstices roll around, I am so relieved. I am so over the length of the days, whether they're extremely short or extremely long at the time. And I'm more comfortable in spring and autumn when the sun is being sensible. So it's always a huge relief when we hit winter solstice because I know the days are going to start getting longer again, and eventually things will warm up again. The other nice thing about the solstices is the winter solstice is midwinter and the summer solstice is midsummer. Even though for some reason people keep saying that they're the start, like the beginning of winter, and it seems really weird to me that we would have a big celebration to kind of lift everyone's spirits and be like, yay, we're surviving winter, this is going really well. Like Christmas and Yule, at the very beginning of winter. And if this is the beginning of winter, then that means that Valentine's Day also happens in winter. And it's really supposed to be a spring celebration, everyone gets to breeding. So it's really weird to me that we have that thing in society where people think that the solstice is the beginning of winter. Now, if you wonder about why it's so warm so far into winter, science can explain that one too. Yes, so happy solstice. Now I know this year we have like a Jupiter-Saturn conjunction that is happening, but I am not an astrologer, and I haven't read the gigantic posts and threads that astrologers are making about it, and frankly, for myself, I am too overwhelmed by this entire year to really care that much. I feel kind of bad because this year, at the beginning of the year, I had decided like, I am finally going to learn this astrology stuff. And then I didn't. This year has been very distracting and disruptive. I think you guys out there can probably understand that. So I just gave myself a pass and I said, yeah, we'll pick that up later when I can have an attention span of some sort again, because oh, my attention span has been brutally murdered by this entire year. Hence the reason why the podcast episodes are coming out later and later, or further and further apart, I guess is what I'm saying. So yes, so that also means that the typical pagan holiday of Yule is also happening tomorrow. It usually coincides with solstice, or sometimes people celebrate it the day after, the day before, or a week later. It's really just a very mobile holiday and we do what we want. So whenever you celebrate Yule is fine. I know that there are like 80 million zillion social media posts out there about how to celebrate Yule. And like I said, you can kind of just do whatever you want. There's no rules involved. So whatever kind of winter celebration things that you enjoy are absolutely good to go. So yeah, a lot of the Christmas traditions are old pagan traditions. They're not all from the same culture traditionally, but that's fine. I mean, unless you're like really, really beholden to practicing like the Norse traditions or the Greek traditions, you can kind of just keep what Christmas traditions you really enjoy. I am particularly fond of Christmas trees. I love that whole bringing a tree into your house thing. But to be totally honest, I don't really celebrate Christmas or a winter holiday anymore, just because I find winter is a really great time to slow down, get some extra rest in, not even think about planning what you want to do for the next year or anything like that, but more just taking time to turn inward and get in touch with yourself and get lots of rest and take good care of yourself, spoil yourself a bit if you want to. And that's probably like my human version of hibernation. Like I can't really get away with just crawling into a cave and taking a nap for 3 or 4 months, but I can kind of, make a promise to myself to just slow down a bit, to really spend the extra time and attention on the people that I care about, but especially on myself, and take care of the things that I need to do, the things that I've been owing myself, the things that I keep telling myself that I will do when I finally get around to having time and energy and all those kinds of things. So however you want to celebrate is entirely up to you, even if that includes not celebrating with other people and just kind of keeping it to yourself. Or not celebrating at all. Like, go for it. There's no Yule Solstice police running around who are gonna throw you in jail or something if you don't. But yeah, so Christmas traditions are great. The tree, the stockings, the gift exchange, the big dinner. You can find that a lot of traditional pagan holidays involve a giant feast, like a big dinner where you gather your entire family or village together or whatever. And so a lot of those traditions are still alive and well in our society today when it comes to holidays. So a big feast and a gift exchange and a tree and decorating and singing songs and all that kind of stuff is all very traditional. And of course Santa Claus as well. Like that's clearly not a church thing. So the way you want to celebrate Christmas, like if you want to celebrate Yule the way you would celebrate Christmas normally, of course, that's totally fine. Again, no one's making rules out here, but if you love those traditions, go ahead and keep them. There's other things like having a Yule log or burning a Yule log. A lot of people are, they kind of make, they write their wishes down and they burn them or do some kind of ceremonial release. Here Again, pagan traditions are really fond, European pagan traditions are really fond of bonfires, and that's a really normal way to celebrate the changing of the seasons. So hanging out somewhere where it's extremely fire safe. I'm from California, please make this very safe. You can have a big fire, you can roast your marshmallows, you can make s'mores, you can write down little wishes for the next year and you can burn them. Or you can go ahead and write down the things that you want to go away, the things that you're banishing from your life. Like if you're, tired of struggling to make ends meet, or if you're having issues learning a topic, or if there's someone in your life that you don't want to have in your life anymore, you can write that stuff down and tell them goodbye and throw them in the fire as well. And that's another fun tradition. I usually like to write a letter to myself about how the last year has gone, what I've learned, what I've gained, what I've lost, what things of value I want to take into the next year with me. And then I burn that too. And it ends up usually being like 10 pages long because I don't write neatly and I have a lot to say. And I'm a little intimidated this year because there's a lot that happened this year. So, and a lot of it I do not want to take into the future with me. I just want to leave it back here in 2020 and like 2021 can start with a blank slate and that would be way better. So yeah, so there's a lot of different ways to celebrate. Just kind of, if you don't know what you're doing, you can just kind of do what feels good to you. And I think that's delightful. Like that's kind of the path of most pagans. Like most of us are eccentric rather than being tied to a specific faith or pantheon or anything like that. And so it's a lot of fun to kind of feel out what it is you like to do on your holidays and then create those traditions for yourself. So please, if you feel like you need permission from someone, please take this podcast as permission to go ahead and do the holidays your own way. And again, if you decide that you don't want to celebrate the holidays at all and you would just rather treat them like a regular day, then that is absolutely an option. So this year too has been just a wild ride. And that the tradition I spoke of where I write a letter to myself and I write down all the things that happened in the year and then specifically focus on what I want to keep in my life or what I want to get rid of in my life. I usually do that at New Year's. So I don't really separate the two holidays in my mind, but just thinking back over the year, a lot has happened. I have several projects that were derailed for various reasons, and a lot of changes happened at the beginning of the year. And then of course there's all of 2020. I don't know about the rest of you, but I'm still very curious what the story was behind those monoliths. I'm still going big on wearing masks everywhere, and in fact, California is breaking records day after day after day in regards to COVID cases and deaths. So I'm kind of doing my best to just stay at home and work on developing new skills and studying different topics and whatnot. So I, of course, have several different projects that are going on and information that I'm putting together and things that I'm researching and whatnot. And that's always a lot of fun for me, but it's not really fun for people who pay attention to or follow my content, because I like to kind of percolate through all these things and get them settled in my brain before I share them with everyone. And so I've got several of those things going on. I have some big updates on previous topics that I've done before that I want to release for you guys. I have that research that I was doing on traditions from European pagan practices that have been integrated into the church. And I think that's really fascinating. I've got a lot of good information on that and whatnot. And then I'm working on a podcast about the kind of church Christian default thinking, values, and assumptions that we make as a society, the way that even if you aren't specifically raised going to a church every week, that kind of Christian philosophical ideals and morals and values are still kind of taught to us anyway, just through society, because, quite frankly, America was founded as a Christian nation. And so, those things have just kind of been insidious in everything that we do. And it's so, so important that we question them, that we evaluate them if they're still useful to us or not, and we kind of decide whether or not we agree with those morals. So I have that one that is percolating for you guys as well. And then over on my YouTube channel, I still have the tarot spread review series that I need to pick back up and get going again. And that's kind of a lot of work, but it'll be fun because I finally got that table and I've only gotten to use it once so far and I want to use it more. But wow, this year has just been an exercise in being flexible and understanding and prioritizing things. And I don't know if you guys out there are feeling that or not, but I definitely am. And I've had to reevaluate a lot of my priorities and what was important to me and what I hope to accomplish this year. And I don't usually enjoy reevaluating those things, and this was a very unfun way to do that. So going into the new year is going to be a little bit awkward or different because it'll be kind of a lot of reviewing that stuff that was on my list for this year and seeing if I even care about them anymore. And that's always fun. And I usually, like for me, I don't usually do that kind of New Year's review thing on New Year's. I usually wait until like the middle of January, which is where we usually see spring starting to come in. So I kind of wait until then to actually do that New Year's traditional stuff. For me, like my great preference would be if we had a year that went from the beginning of spring to all the way through Halloween. And then after Halloween, we just call it a year. We say it's done and it's over with. And we're going into winter. And then winter could just be like this great in-between years period where nobody really expects anyone to accomplish anything. And we all just get a chance to rest for a bit before we get back to it in spring again. So I kind of like to give that winter period to myself as an in-between time as much as I possibly can. I don't put too much pressure on myself. I don't try to accomplish goals. I just try to keep things going as best I can at like skeleton crew levels in my life until spring rolls around again. And I don't really dislike winter. I actually like winter quite a lot, especially now that I live somewhere that has weather. So the last couple days have been super foggy and I love that. And then it rains every couple weeks and I love that as well. But I really just enjoy taking it as this time period to do that turning inward and the inner work and just being comfy and cozy at home and resting and relaxing and taking the pressure off. Because there's just so much pressure in life and I don't like it. Like, some people really enjoy pressure. I'm not sure why, but they say they do, and so I believe them. But I do not. I can appreciate what can be accomplished under pressure, but sometimes we just need to take the pressure away. And so I try to do that for myself every winter. Of course, I am not the only person who affects my life, so I don't always get to do that. And I don't just mean, my household, my family members and stuff, but I also mean like there's society and I live in it, so I have to be mindful of other people and kind of pay attention to what's going on there. But as much as I can, I do like to just rest my way through winter and allow myself to turn inward, figure out where I am, how I'm feeling about things, figure out what's going on with myself, and then give my attention to that instead of working on things that are more external. I really hope that you guys out there have a way that you prefer to celebrate winter or Yule or solstice or the New Year's or Christmas or whatever other holiday you might celebrate. There's also like Hanukkah and Kwanzaa and other ones that I'm not remembering off the top of my head and I have due apologies about. But I hope whatever you're doing it in a way that brings you peace and joy, and that this year you're taking the time to do it in a very safe, conscientious manner, because, oh boy, are things just a mess. Anyways, I hope you guys are celebrating in a happy, healthy, sacred to you kind of way, and that you have a wonderful solstice and a wonderful new year, and that you find all the things that you're looking for. And I will talk to you guys again after the beginning of 2021. Sending so much love and peace out to everybody. This is Nathara gathering crows. Bye-bye.